What's up everyone, Tommy with Studio Sins here. For anyone who knows me and knows my channel, knows that I typically don't do videos or first impression videos anyway off of samples because I can't give you guys the entirety of my opinion without the actual presentation. However, there are some exception to that. What I'm talking about in particular is a relatively new release by Guerlain, that is Habit Rouge Rouge Privé. Yes, there's two Rouge in there. Now, Rouge Privé is a very interesting fragrance, and when we come back, we're going to delve into why I think that's the case. So I've got that and more coming up, so stay tuned. Welcome back everyone. Today we're taking a look at a brand new fragrance by Guerlain. Let me just tell you guys, if you don't already know, which if you are into fragrances at all, probably have heard of Guerlain. They are an amazing brand and house. They come out with just an amalgamation of all these really heady fragrances, anywhere from the kind of really inexpensive fragrances to the very top shelf, top tier. Now, this next fragrance that we're going to be talking about is a new release by them in their Habit Rouge line. Habit Rouge, if you know anything about it or don't know anything about it, it's actually Guerlain's first amber-oriented fragrance for men. And it was conceived and launched back in 1965. So a very long time ago. In fact, that's one fragrance that was truly ahead of its time, made use of some like amber, vanilla, bergamot, leather. In fact, that's kind of their claim to fame, or their caveat, is this incredible bergamot leather accord, which two things that don't sound like they may go together, but they really knocked it out of the park with the original Habit Rouge. And so what we're talking about today is Habit Rouge Rouge Privé. This is the sample. And again, I typically don't give first impressions on samples, but in this case, I can't help myself. I have exhausted this tiny little 5 ml sample bottle here. Oh man, it smells so... There you go. That's my first impression. It smells so good. Are you going to buy that fragrance? Yeah, Tommy from Studio Sins said it smells so good. So yeah, it does smell amazing, but we're going to talk about why I think it smells amazing and what you might think it smells like, whether or not you might consider a purchase of it now at full retail, or you might want to wait until it hits discounters. But Guerlain, again, as I've been saying about multiple houses lately, it's one of those houses that retains the value in their fragrance so that they don't typically drop a tremendous amount. So let's talk about the fragrance a little bit. Again, if you know the format of my channel, typically I look at the presentation. Guerlain has two bottle types, and I didn't grab one off the shelf here, but I'll show you an example. This bottle type, or the perfect square bottle type, and that's what Habit Rouge Rouge Privé, this luxurious looking red, very similar to what you already own. If you own any of the Guerlain L'Homme or L'Homme Ideal or other the Guerlain fragrances in this bottle type, you're already very familiar with the presentation. So we're not going to go into that in detail. I do love that luxurious red color. Hard to do much better than that. And it's really nice when the name matches the presentation, and in this case, Rouge. Now that we've briefly discussed the presentation, let's talk a little bit about what notes are in the fragrance. Habit Rouge Rouge Privé basically consists of notes of bergamot, ginger, leather, patchouli, and vanilla. That's all that they've given us to work with. But if you go back and look at the original 1965 formula, it's relatively simple. There's this construct in engineering that, you know, if the previous iteration worked, you just modify it slightly, a slight tweak, and that's what they've done in this case. Now, what you're going to be getting in this fragrance, let's talk now about, now that we know the notes that are in it, let's talk about what it smells like. But first, I think it's important to talk about some of the notes. Now, what they include in this is what they call a tanned leather. I'm going to show you a really quick clip here. This is a tannery where they're actually tanning leather. Now, it's important to know that this is a tanned leather for reasons of how tanned leather smells. There's a couple different processes. There's a chemical process that can make a tanned leather smell kind of chemically and not great. But in the vegetable tanning, what you just saw was vegetable tanning, and that's what gives leather that very classic leather smell where it's very earthy and lightly sweet. And that's the leather that you're getting in Rouge Privé. That legendary bergamot leather accord in the original Habit Rouge is intensified by this sensual patchouli and modernized in Rouge Privé by the spiciness of ginger. Leather is something you're not going to catch immediately. In fact, it's almost like a stealth note in this, and that's what I really enjoy about it, and what I think a lot of people will enjoy about Habit Rouge Rouge Privé is that you immediately get this sense of brightness about it, bergamot. In the mid, you start to get this kind of spiciness that is reminiscent of Baccarat Rouge 540. It's a very well-known fragrance. It's got the smoothness of Baccarat Rouge 540, bright register feeling that makes you think of the color red, but it also has like the spiciness of a Givenchy Xerius Rouge. So it definitely follows in line with similar Rouge fragrances, such as the ones that I've mentioned. Tanned leather and bright bergamot combo is a very unique note. It almost comes across like a green vetiver in some facets. What is so brilliant about Habit Rouge Rouge Privé is that you can pick apart the various nuances and facets of the notes when you start talking about bergamot, leather, ginger, patchouli, vanilla, and you get all of those and you can pick them apart. But when you pull back and you look at the fragrance as a single unit, a composite, and again, I use that word amalgamation, the finished product, the finished result is so much greater than the parts that are used to make it up. And that's how they're able to give you this kind of lightly spicy, leathery rouge. All these notes working together make up that single component. It's like a song that has many different instruments, but somehow they harmonize and they create this melody, this tune, and that's exactly what this fragrance is doing. It is an eau de parfum concentration. The projection of this fragrance, even though it's a bit soft around the edges, I wouldn't say that it's loud, but it's very strong. It's very impressive. It's very good. Now, the longevity as an EDP, this is amazingly, after hours later, I still get very similar kind of scent bubble. In other words, it doesn't draw back as quickly as some EDPs that I have experienced, and I've experienced quite a few. When you're considering a purchase of the fragrance, if you smell it, if you smell a sample of it, like I have, and you really enjoy it, you really like it, just know that that's not going away. That's going to last for a very long time. And that, to me, is always a plus and should be considered when you're thinking about purchasing a fragrance, specifically at full retail. If you're thinking about waiting for it to hit discounters, it could be a while. This one is kind of a celebration of the original Habit Rouge, so it may take a little while for the price to be reduced. In terms of when to wear this, this one would actually make a really good office scent. It's not necessarily a superbly casual fragrance. In terms of the fineness of the fragrance, the quality is very niche-like. In terms of the weather that you would wear it in, it is an amber-oriented fragrance, so just go by that rule. The rule of thumb is that most amber-oriented fragrances are best utilized in cooler weather. However, due to that very, very elegant bergamot leather combo that is the caveat of Habit Rouge, and in particular Rouge Privé, you can wear this in any kind of weather. It is a signature feel. It definitely has that fineness of a signature appeal, a signature feel. So really any kind of weather, but maximized in a little bit cooler climes. When I smell this, I think of words like noble, exclusive, unique. This truly is an amazing reinterpretation of that original opus, Habit Rouge. And Rouge Privé, I feel like, is definitely got a more modern appeal for the modern man, and it's a very unique approach, a very unique take on leather-oriented fragrances. So definitely try this one out before you purchase it. Definitely try a sample. I am sold on it. I really, really like it and really enjoy it. And again, I think it's a bit of a better version of the original Habit Rouge in terms of being a bit more modern, a bit more elegant, and easy to wear in most circumstances and situations. Well guys, that's it for my first impressions of this new release by Guerlain, Habit Rouge Rouge Privé. Try a sample. Like with most things, it's a good rule of thumb. It'll prevent you from being disappointed and having buyer's regret. Thanks so much for stopping by to check out today's first impressions. As always, thank you so much for your continued support on my channel. I'm Tommy with Studio Sense, and I'll see you tomorrow with another video review.